Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Want today to talk about moral hazard. This is kind of a blending of an economic concept and a concept that pertains to finance and financial markets. Trying to kind of talk about the dark side of finance this week. I talked yesterday about leverage and also mentioning how leverage is agreed upon that it was a big contributor to the economic collapse of 2008. Well, that worked hand in hand with moral hazard. Moral hazard is the idea of a transaction taking place in which at least one of the parties in that transaction is not acting in good faith. They have an incentive to take unusual, unnecessary risks, or they're just acting recklessly in general. And in the case of 2008, the banks used the idea of leverage. They leveraged all of their investments incredibly recklessly. And, I mentioned yesterday that leverage is the idea of investing a small amount of your own money and borrowing a large amount to try to maximize your returns. Now, that can be incredibly risky and incredibly problematic when you're using that for high risk investments. And in the case of a bank, leverage is almost one of the most dangerous things because, they have their own little bit of money, but where do you think they're borrowing the rest of that money from? It's the money that you give them. It's the money that you deposit. Moral hazard in that case really refers to the idea that the banks knew that they were never going to really be punished for their actions. The banks, the big banks, they knew that the government would bail them out. And therein lies the moral hazard. They knew that they were going to be bailed out, so they knew that the government would come to the rescue at the end of the day, so why not take a big risk? They had an incentive provided to them by the government, the FDIC, Federal Reserve, that they would not fail. So, of course, why not take a risk? If you know you're not going to fail, if you know you're going to get bailed out in the end of the day, that's an incentive to take big risks. Because especially all these bank executives that get paid based on short-term performance, all the more reason, to maximize their bonus. A lot of these guys in finance at the upper levels, they actually get a relatively small salary. All their money is made in those bonuses, and those bonuses are often performance-based. So they had huge incentives to take big risks. And now I know every time that a situation like 2008 happens, everyone wants to call for, we got to regulate these corporations. We got to regulate these banks. The government's got to do more and more and more. If you think about it, the government is what was causing the problem. There is no regulation that will ever be as effective as the fear of failure. If the banks really feared that, if we take this risky investment and we lose everything, we're going to fail. We're going to go out of business. No regulation will ever be as effective as the fear of failure. So what the government needs to do is actually step out of the way and let the market do the regulation. We need to empower ourselves and learn how to pick good businesses to invest our money in, good banks to invest our money in. It shouldn't just be a blind thing where, it doesn't matter where I put my money, it's all insured by the government. We should be, there should be some onus on the consumer to do the due diligence to pick a good institution to put our money and invest our assets. So, hope that sheds a little bit of light for some people. Moral hazard, another kind of part of the seedy underbelly of finance. But everyone, I hope you have a very happy Thanksgiving. Take care.